microphone, it really does sound like shit.
Thank you very much. We can write a letter of complaint to the AKG.
Oh, it's like all I can say is it's your show, and if it sounds like dog shit, all you can say is, hey, Mike spent a shitload of money on his microphone.
Not that much. It was not, reasonable.
Well, I mean, what are we talking? 20 pounds? 40 pounds?
a bit more than that. A bit more.
1,000 pounds?
Bit less.
90
bucks, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, not bad.
Right.
Anyway,
money well spent.
Hey everyone, we're live. We're here. It's going to be a great show. Henry's here. Good to see you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, second time's the charm.
Yeah, we didn't do that last time, right? Paul's back. Always a pleasure.
Are we on?
We're live. We're live. Even our microphone dissing was live.
Yeah, no, it's like I just want to make sure everybody who's listening realizes how much money Mike spent on a microphone that sounds like dog shit. And you know how much money I spent on a microphone? $0. And I think, how do I sound over there, Paul?
Perfect. $1 million.
It's the lighting I would spend the money on.
It's like I don't video. Well, so two things. Number one, kiss my nuts. Secondly, it's like, are we going to talk about these records, or do you give a shit what I look like? It's like it's 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. Let's get to it.
Let's get down to business. You're right. We've got 5 records. I think the question will be able. Let me do the housekeeping.
Do the housekeeping.
Gonna do the housekeeping.
Hey, you know what? If I had a comb and a piece of paper, I could do my impression of Mike.
Comb your hair?
And just do all the talking through the comb with the paper, because it's like, and you know how much money that would cost?
Well, it might be the $0 you spent for the speakers, because it doesn't sound that bad.
Yeah, it could be a mixture of various things. Anyway, shall we get going?
Sure.
As usual, we've each got 5 records. We're gonna have a very good time talking about. As always, it's going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait to hear what everyone's picked out tonight. We'll do one each. We'll go around and let's see how many we get through in an hour. You're going to be off in an hour, Henry? You reckon? About an hour?
Yeah, it's like I have a memorial service to go to tomorrow in Athens, and there's a show tonight, and it's like. I don't know if anybody's ever said this to you guys, but 10 o'clock on a Friday is not exactly what I would call peak hours to get me for an interview. So I guess it's different for everybody, but
Wow, I'm in the future, Henry. I'm in Japan. It's noon on a Saturday over here, man.
Well, konnichiwa or whatever the shit.
All right, I'm being told by everyone that my mic sounds bad, so let me. This is weird.
No, you spent so much money on it, Mike. It's like, do people realize how much money you spent on this?
Hang on a sec.
Come on, back me up on this.
I don't know. Look,
all I can say is,
hey, how about now?
It definitely sounds less distorted.
Yeah, it's a little less hot.
Hot. Look at you.
I think that's the technical term.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess this backlit thing, it kind of gives me this kind of like Halo kind of feel. It's like come towards the light. I'm right here.
Yeah, I think it's like Orson Welles at the end of The Third Man. Just like,
hey, everyone, let me know in the comments if I sound. Awful.
Oh, you sound way better.
Yeah,
okay. You sound way better.
Rachel,
okay. All right. Let's get on with it, shall we? Let's stop messing about with microphones. My first.
This is broadcasting.
Yes, let's do some serious broadcasting. I have in my hands. It's going to be in my hands. Still too loud. I've got in my hands what I think is the best reissue of 2025. I know it's only like February, but it came out yesterday actually. First time owner.
Can we guess?
Came out yesterday on Fiction Records.
I can't guess that.
San Diego band, 90s. But they kind of catered to the UK, and they were kind of a bit of a name in the UK in the early 90s.
Are you talking about the Swing Kids?
I'm not talking about the Swing Kids.
It's like, I mean, tell us who it is, because it's like I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yeah, it's the build-up. It's the build-up. I'm talking about, of course, I'm talking about the God Machine.
Oh, yeah, of course, God Machine. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know the God Machine.
Nobody. You know what? I kind of guessed that maybe nobody would know about the God Machine. My Facebook was blowing up yesterday with people who were like over the moon that this finally got reissued. What it's all about? God Machine, San Diego band. It's 90s alternative rock, indie rock, post rock, but not as you know it. I mean,
you are really bad at describing records, but go ahead.
You know what? I'm kind of tired of you, man. Can I get rid of you? Can I do that? Yeah, let's get rid of him.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of guessed this would happen. Remove guest. There we go.
Wow, we are really getting rid of Henry.
Yes, we are.
Wow.
Yep. He's gone. See you, Henry.
Has that ever happened before? Is this what are you listening to first?
Yeah, it's the first. There we go. God Machine.
How was my mic?
Yes,
by the way,
not bad. But someone said you
muted. But
I think that means you're just quieter than me.
Right.
It's the God Machine. I'm going to sort of try and describe this really badly because I'm terrible at describing records. I hadn't even started describing it yet, but dark indie rock, alternative rock, kind of sounds like a mixture of The Cure. The Cure meets fucking Neurosis, meets Godflesh, meets Swans, something like that. Is what I'd say this record sounds like. I think this band were on like MTV 120 Minutes sometimes, and they kind of fit in there. But at the same time, they were also like in Kerrang as well. Heavy band. Like I said, people were like super excited that this was reissued. It's been like, how many years? 40 odd years. 1992 came out. And,
what label again?
Fiction.
Okay.
Yeah. So The Cure, Fiction, most well known for The Cure. But this kind of sounds like, The Cure, like I said, The Cure meets Swans. Super heavy. It's a double LP. It's long. They do the kind of loud, quiet thing as well. That it is the band where the bassist died. That's what happened to this band. There you go.
I didn't. They're from California. I mean, it sounds like it would have hit all of the things that I've been interested in. So it's strange that they moved to the UK. You said, or just
relocated to the UK. I don't know why. They were kind of tipped to be like the next big thing. I saw them like in a tiny club in Bath, in front of about like 150 people, and they were fucking amazing. Yep. There's a sample at the beginning. Does anyone know the movie The Sheltering Sky?
Yeah, I know the film. I've never seen it.
So apparently there's a sample at the beginning of this record. It's from that movie. And Neurosis used the same sample on Enemy of the Sun. And it came out in the same year. Who sampled it first? We don't know. Let us know in the comments. Who sampled it first? Yeah, there we go. Singer of Stereolab is on one of the songs too on this record.
Which singer? There were two, right?
Yeah, it's Gifford. Somebody Gifford.
Interesting.
Yeah, she sings on one song.
Huh.
Little end note. There's a cassette tape, a promo that has the God Machine, Quicksand, and Wool on it. that exists in this world.
All right.
Just putting out there.
Sick.
There you go. That's my first pick.
Got a job.
Everyone loves the Cop Machine. Check it out.
Cool.
There you go. Okay, James.
All right. I'll have to make this cordial in fear of not getting kicked off the show. I didn't realize we were playing with such high stakes.
Ain't gonna happen. Don't worry.
No, I'm playing. All right, so here's my setup. I think like once the record is out, this is going to be a short, sharp shock, which I haven't done really one of on the show yet, but it does require a little bit of lead up. The short, sharp shock is also going to be because I don't really know anything about this band. They're a bit of a mystery to me.
Right.
But I'm going to preface it by saying one of the things I really love about punk in general is like the way that a record can come out 30 years ago and make no dent at the time, can go by unnoticed, no one cares about it, but punks are always digging, and something decades later can find an audience and suddenly have like a reappraisal. And I can think of 3 Japanese punk records in particular, where this is the case. One of them I pulled out earlier before the stream that we were talking about, Mike, which of course is the second Comes record, Power Never Die, which I remember when I was like a teenager, first getting into like Japanese hardcore, and like the older guys were telling me, yeah, the first Comes record, that's the one you got to hear. Don't even bother with the second one, which was the wrongest advice ever. And now it seems like everyone's on the lookout for this record. Everyone's reading, it's not No Side. It's a completely different sound, but fantastic album. Everyone wants this now. And speaking of things that are going to be reissued this year, one's coming apparently on SS recording. So that's cool.
Nice.
That's one of the records. And the other one is it's a flexi from Japan that everyone seems to be talking about. At least in New York, I've already seen like one kid with this image on a t-shirt, hand screened t-shirt. Again, like a record that like I don't think anyone really paid that much attention to, the Headless Flexi. On more records, who also released State Children, Bomb Shelter for Money Making, Aggressive Dogs second EP, AT Debt, pretty flawless roster. But this one keeps popping up. The third record that everyone seems to really be after right now is my choice. Hold on one second, though. I just got back from the shop. I was just
Nice.
I was diving into music earlier today, and I had to pick up a few things.
Holy
So-
shit.
He is the disc union enthusiast.
That's the disc union in Thompson Square Park.
Yeah.
Or,
This is the Brooklyn, Williamsburg, Brooklyn location of Disc Union. Put this one away, and we have the. Sorry, just get rid of this. Don't need that. It is Astral Projection by Sex Complex Class, 1986, MCR Records. Is a single-sided flexi.
Look at you.
Like that. And it's I was asking, I don't know much about this record at all. I was asking Burkhard Jarisch, the guy who wrote the Flex discographies, before the show, if he knows anything about it. He's like, yeah, they're from Kyoto. That's about it. That's all I know. They're real mysterious. They do have 2 records. There's also this one, also a flexi. They're both really good, but this is one that's where it's at. And for me, it was like up here in New York, one of the first jobs punks seem to get is working at Beggars Group, which is the conglomeration of record labels. That's Beggars Banquet, Matador Records, XL, Rough Trade, Young Turks, all in one big building in Soho. It's kind of a really fancy place, but a lot of the punks work there. And I was downstairs packing records. It's my first job in New York. Also working there is Layla Giddon, former MRR coordinator, also from Skin, Teen, and Petty Crime. Ryan Nadeau from Warthog and every other band in New York. My man Vinny Martini from Rot Shit. And then my friend Andy Larson one day was in her office listening to music. And I'm like, it was like what is that? That's really good. And it is unmistakably Japanese flexi music. Like clearly, like that sound, but I could not place it. It's just like I know what this is, I know probably about what it's from, but I've never heard this before. So I, knocked on her cubicle door, and she pulled out a mixtape that someone had made for her. She was like, yeah, this is good. I actually don't know what this is either. I pulled out the J card, handwritten. She's like, yeah, it's something called Sex Complex Class. So that set me on the hunt looking for the copy. But it's one of those things where it's like in the last couple of years, you can see it being like a $20 record, $25, $30, $40 record. People are paying like $75, $80 for it now. Got my copy, thankfully, from the legendary Flower Records in Tokyo, the craziest record store in the world, one of the best record stores in the world. My favorite record store that's not Disc Union in Japan. An insane dig where you probably won't find what you're looking for, but you'll get really dusty doing it. But then you can hand the owner a list of things you're looking for and come back the next day, and then he'll come back from his warehouse with a bunch of stuff for you. That's how I got a copy of Sex Complex Class. But anyway, so that's my short, sharp shot, because I don't know, again, shit about the band other than this Flexi is fucking fantastic. It's I should probably describe what it sounds like. It begins with a really good like flanger guitar chord, wow, 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 and then these like Gregorian chants over it, and then busts into this like incredibly rudimentary like da 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 riff. It's really like simplistic, one-dimensional, except like so much great punk. It's not the songwriting, it's the attitude with which you convey it with, and the production quality. It just sounds fucking sick. Just plotting, mean sounding, slightly psychedelic hardcore. It's not overly blown out. It's not like a noise punk record. But anyways, yeah, pretty much flawless, I'd have to say. Also, like lots of like weird culty imagery on it. You see like some fucking like pharaohs and some like what looks like tarot card kind of shit going on. I don't know. Just cool. Just a cool record. It's the total package. And no one knows who they are. What do you want?
Like MCR, like doesn't really sort of get the
right.
They don't really get the respect that they deserve as an important historical like Japanese like punk label. They're not as cool as like Selfish or ADK or
right.
They're not kind of revered in that kind of way, but totally different kind of a label, with all like the regional comps. They would release like any young band and who like sent in a demo. They weren't just putting out big name band and stuff like that. So
they put out a lot of records. It's kind of like hard to like dig through like what is what. And I think also maybe part of why they don't have the same sort of cult appeal is, unlike a lot of those other Japanese labels, they were really well distributed. You could get MCR in the US. I know that you brought MCR to the UK.
I did, yeah.
So anyways, Sex Complex Class, Astral Projection.
Beautiful.
First pick.
Nice. All right.
I unfortunately, my first picks are 7 inches too. It's a combo, and I apologize because before the thing started, Mike was talking about how much he hated the format, and here we are. The first two picks are like his most
doing it on purpose.
But also though, like James, nobody knows anything about this band I'm going to show. There's nothing on Discogs. There's nothing labeled. I even got a hold of the guy who ran their label, and all he could tell me is that he liked seeing them live, and every once in a while the singer would disappear for a couple months because he was dating the niece of Jerry Garcia, so he would just like disappear for months and follow the dead around or whatever. The band is Blood Gin. Do you know what I'm talking about? Here's the cover.
Look at that.
I like
each of these records has 6 songs. It's like Victim's Family and the Minutemen with like Doc Dart or Jello Biafra bursting over it. It's herky-jerky weirdness. It came out in like 96, and it was one of those things that if I hadn't lived in Michigan, that's the other thing. They only played shows, I think, in Chicago, but had people that lived in Michigan and Indiana. And again, nobody knows anything about them. There's no listing anywhere. And I had to get a hold of Joey Vindictive from the Vindictives to try and get any information out of it. And that's all he could tell me is he knows nothing about them. They have a full other 8 songs recorded and produced, but the band just kind of disappeared and left no follow-up information. So he's even just sitting on 8 songs from back then that aren't available anywhere. Completely available. Here's both of the records that they did. Now And if you're into Victims Family, the Minutemen with super squeaky vocals and short, tight, fast, herky-jerky songs, they seem to be popular now that weren't then, right? Like nobody was doing that kind of stuff in the mid 90s and at least getting noticed for it. But now that sound is having a comeback. And I think these are you're going to pay more for shipping on Discogs than you will to actually buy them on Discogs. Right. Like I think that they're between 50 cents and $1 a piece on Discogs. So wherever you're having them shipped to, make sure you stack some other stuff in there because it's not going to be worth it. And that's my double pick. I'm going to show it again just because I want to show you the back.
Yeah, who did the artwork? Do you know?
Let's see. It says somewhere in here, but I don't know where to find it right now. And the back is the guy doing a shot of the guy's blood. Him just dying on the table.
VML was Joey Vindictive's label, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's not anything. It's not like anything else that's on that label either. It's not the typical stuff he did.
I remember the first time I ever did mail order was I was like 13, and I ordered just a bunch of stuff from Lookout Records directly. That was just the stuff I always see like reference. One of them was Mini Moods of the Vindictives. And I fucking hated it. It's like the music is cool, but man, this guy's fucking vocals are like a cartoon. And, but you also spend like, 10, $15 on a CD. That's a lot of money to you when you're that age. So it's like every 6 months, I'm like, I got to pull the CD out again. I'm going to fucking like this CD, goddamn. After a few years, so like one day I just popped it in and it clicked. I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And yeah,
someone showed that record recently, the double LP.
Chicago bands.
Yeah. Actually, Mikey Erg was on here talking about their Ramones album that now is on my
list.
Because I've heard that.
I never even heard that existed. Yeah, I haven't heard it yet either.
And the fact that they do all the songs, like all of those other Ramones covers records, are just straight up covers of the Ramones records. But I guess theirs is all they make synth pop and weird and spacey. So I'm curious. It's their Into the Unknown of the Ramones.
You've set me up nicely for my second pick, actually.
Oh, nice.
Is it a 7-inch?
Actually, it is. It is. Well, here's the thing. It was originally a 7-inch. Not only a 7-inch, it was a flexi, like James's first pick. And I can't think of any. There probably are some other cases where this happened, but it's a case where a record that people even disputed if it ever even existed. Like people were wondering if this was actually a real record or not. It's never ever been on Discogs, ever. Wow. There was only 100 made back in the day, going to the north of Japan, and this is a great thing to talk about because I don't think there's many cases of a record that not too long ago people thought might have not even existed. And then fast forward to the recent past, and here it is in the shape of a box set with the double LP, CD, and DVD.
Yeah. I actually minimally and tastefully packaged, I'm sure.
Let's have a look at this. I have come around to liking this. Actually, I was mad about it at first, but now I think it's actually a work of genius, and the music ain't bad either. Actually, so what is he talking about? Get to the point. Hurry up. You're wasting my time. Get on with it. Look,
I already know.
Okay, this is what. Here we are. This is the front cover.
Yeah.
This is the back cover. This is good. Look at this. Come on. We're talking about, of course, Human Gas, Paul. Human Gas, which was originally all they had. Well, the flexi, a split flexi with a band called Stalinism. They pressed 100. It does exist. James, have you ever seen a copy? Do you own a copy?
I've never seen a copy. There
you go. Proof. It's true. It does exist. James has been to every disc union in Japan. He didn't see a copy. It's never been on Discogs.
I know people who own it, but I've not. Really? I've not seen it first.
Yeah. So anyway, what ended up happening was this band that had this 100, limited split flexi ended up a few years ago being presented in the shape of a box set. They went all out, man, it's like super violence hardcore, Human Gas, 84 to 89. Here's the box, sturdy. It's going to come in useful one day for something. Sturdy box, beautiful booklet, tons of photos, flyers. Look at that. And then the double LP. There you go. Trifold, no less. I can't get it. I can't stretch it out. Trifold with bonus CD and DVD, which they call Extra Violence, which you gotta love.
Have you watched it?
I don't have a DVD. You can watch it on YouTube though, I think.
Yeah, I haven't even pulled my copy out yet that I got at Disc Union, but it's like, yeah, again, you can get them for like $20 at Disc Union. They're
I think they were kind of like F.O.A.D were very like over optimistic about this. Yeah, you can find it pretty cheap used to this day. But yeah, it's the split 7-inch, the split flexi songs, 3 demos. The first demo's called Noise and Hardcore, which is a weird name for a Japanese band. And then, demos, compilation tape tracks. The third demo, by the time you get to side C, we're on the third demo, which they called Lackluster, which I thought was quite a funny name to call your third demo. But and then it gets like, extra studio tracks, studio jam session with, other bands. I mean, where they do like covers of the Star Club and the Starlin and Laughing Nose. But the first record's great. I mean, if you like Brain Drill, Kyushu hardcore, like Confuse, Kuro, that kind of stuff, great. It's good. But the question is, did it need to be, did it need to be like this? That's the question. Do we want everything from a band? Is really what.
Absolutely not. But maybe.
I mean, not just Human Gas, but like any band, right? Do we want everything?
Again, like
I've completely stopped buying like re-releases with the extra LP of demos. I'm like, fuck that.
That's what YouTube is for.
I mean, I don't want to hear mistakes.
Yeah. I think this is like the most extreme example of a kind of completely unknown band going from like a flexi disc to like a double LP, CD and DVD box set, which I've kind of come around to being actually a kind of stroke of genius in a way. Am I going to listen to am I going to watch the DVD? No, but I will play like side 1 or side 2 of that box. It's decent, like Brain Drill, Kyushu hardcore from Hokkaido. But
speaking of the perennial nature of punk, I think I'm using that word right, but I'm not certain. There's this West Coast rapper that's like 20 years old named Cold Heart. He's like a Korean kid, I think. And his whole thing is like he makes like very Gen Z SoundCloud, cloud rap kind of style stuff. But he's like kind of punk at the same time and is usually wearing like bondage pants and like a leather jacket or whatever. And then a lot of his promo pics, he's wearing a Human Gas shirt. And I've seen him like commenting on like other Instagram accounts, like Human Gas, I love Human Gas, because like someone might have like mentioned the band or whatever. I'm just like, again, like a band goes from like not really even being sure if they exist after almost 40 years to being one of the fucking first punk bands that like some like kid like that's like 19, 20 years old gets into. It's the internet's a weird place.
It's crazy. And so it's just all the photos are just like them and their few friends. And they had another band called The Middle Class, but it's not that middle class. It's a Japanese like middle class, which is also like a local band.
And they have a 6 LP box set coming soon.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Black Sabbath are one of my favorite bands. I don't need, 5 alternate takes of Wheels of Confusion. Wow.
Right.
I still bought it, but.
Yeah, thanks for being self-aware. I love that. But yeah, I mean, I'm the same way though. Like I just was talking shit about what I don't do as I'm looking at 6 of those things like, on the other side of it.
I did not. Henry Weld in the chat says that they're named after a Mad Max reference. I did not. That makes me want to go back and rewatch Mad Max. Yeah, I did not know that. Never knew.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's in the liner notes of that book.
I'll get to that.
Somewhere in there. Page 68.
You know, check it out. It's funny because it's actually sort of quite good. It's good bang for the buck. You know, get a lot, get a lot for your money. But definitely, like they could have just done like a single LP would have been enough. I think. Just the Human Gas's greatest hits would have been better. All right, James, what you say?
Okay, so let me grab these real quick. So, as you know, but viewers might not, I think this is like my 4th time on the show. I think I'm not sure, but I spent most of my year in Asia because I went to Thailand for a vacation, had a motorcycle wreck back almost exactly a year ago on January 31st, and spiraled my life into craziness and did not get the chance to be on the show for about a year. So it's been a while. So I've had a lot of time to think about my picks. And this one has been on my mind for a year plus because it kind of like solves a mystery that I've been carrying around with me since I was a teenager, basically. And when I was in Japan hanging out with you, Mike, we talked about this a little bit. But before I pull the record out, I've got a question.
Oh, okay.
In fact, I've got 5 questions.
Oh God.
Who?
Okay.
What? Why? When? Where? What am I doing here? What time is it? How do I get home? What's happening?
What is happening?
I would say this is my favorite of the Water Hate compilations. There's a lot of great tracks on here. I mean, you got Karma Sutra, of course you got Conflicts, of course you got Anthrax, Poison Girls, Lost Cherries, but there's one track on this comp in particular that just blew my mind wide open as like a 15-year-old anarcho peace punk guy.
Can I ask you?
One moment, class, one moment. And so this compilation as a young punk really left me asking the question, who is Moet the Poet? Because Moet the Poet is here, track number 4, but no song title. And then on this extensive, not really all that extensive, jacket inside, you have like all the bands submit little sheets with lyrics and other information, except for Moet the Poet. Nothing from Moet the Poet. Well, what is the deal with Moet the Poet? What else can I hear from Moet the Poet? Like there's this one amazing track. And why do I care about it so much? Well, it's like this cold wave synth pop kind of minimalist bedroom synth pop track. It's not hardcore punk. It doesn't sound like anything else. Really, like in the whole like anarcho punk sphere, let alone on this record. And there's just something about, for one, it is actually good poetry. There's really, really good lyrics to this song, and his delivery.
That song kind of blew us away when we heard that compilation for the first time because it's like nothing else you'd heard.
You're getting ahead of me.
Carry on talking. Sorry.
There's this urgency and desperation in this kid's voice with which he delivers his lines that just like really, really, really hits. And I was like, I put it on the stereo full volume this afternoon around the house, and it really kind of like makes me choke up. Like the sincerity is palpable in this track, which is all the more like fuck. Like why? What else is there? Is there anything else? I've been quoting lyrics from the song for 30 something years. Some of the lines like, and all the houses under the moon could not give me any real satisfaction, but don't take them away. They're all we have. And all they ask is, will we have time to spend our money before the end? Shit like that. That's just like, it was like some fucking teenager in his bedroom came up with lines like that I could spend my whole life on and never be able to come up with a turn of phrase that good. Which brings me to the question, Mike. When did you first hear Moet the Poet? Oh, no. And where were you?
Would have been on that very same compilation, of course. Would have been, when did that come out? Whatever year that came out.
484.
yeah, then that, yeah, I mean, I think we kind of bought it pretty new when it came out. So but can we talk about another band that's not Moet the Poet on the record?
For sure.
I think it's on there. The Mad Sane are on that album too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also a great track.
Also a great track.
I didn't prepare any material on the Matter Sane.
That's okay. They were a local band. They were a local band to me, and I lived with a couple of the members, but not that lineup, like the later lineup of the band. It's funny. Someone's like kind of laughing at like Joe Wood dipping his bread again. Yeah, I think like all those compilations were just like demo tapes that he just turned into like compilation records, right?
Right.
But you know.
But the reason I'm trying to prompt here, because I remember you told me something about like having memories of singing the lyrics to this in a squat back in the day, which sounded like really romantic to me.
Yeah. I mean, we all knew the words. I've kind of forgotten them until you mention them again. But yeah, we definitely used to sing along to it.
Great. Well, this isn't my pick. The reason I'm bringing this up is because someone took the wind out of my sails and updated the Discogs entry recently. Now anyone can look up this information, but a year or so ago, I was shocked to find out that Moet the Poet's name was a guy named Neil Moet, right? Neil Moet, and he was he went on to form another band later, and that band, with a terrible, terrible name, is Ear Trumpet. And Ear Trumpet released a couple of records. This one is from 1987. It's called Bring on the Dirt. And it's so exciting to talk about because the lineup on this thing is stellar. It's Moet the Poet himself, Neil Moet, doing vocals, with Bruce Gilbert from Wire and Dome, Steven Severin, the entire career-long spanning bassist for Susie and the Banshees, and a guy named Tony Barber, who is in Lack of Knowledge. And he also did some time in alternative TV in Chelsea and played in the Buzzcocks in the 90s. He plays on Trade Test Transmissions, which is like one of the most underrated Buzzcocks records. He was involved in Dial House in the 2000s, setting up a studio, like I guess like to record like bad Penny Rimbaud jazz records. But I mean, the record like looks weird and interesting. It, like on the back, especially, it even sort of like looks like a later Crass release with looks like Jane Gregory or Acts of Love or something. But the music is actually really great. It's very much in like the Wire Dome soundscape, but it's not, the songs aren't, it's not quite as like much songwriting as in Wire, but it's not quite as like freeform as in Dome. I like Dome, but Dome is like kind of claustrophobic sounding. It's very like monolithic and kind of requires a lot of attention. And where this is like a little bit like jammier, it's not Moet the Poet, and there's not like the same sort of like lyrical heft, but it's unmistakably his voice. Wow. And really kind of like scratches an itch that I've had for years and years and years, trying to see if there's anything else that this person did. And yeah, the record's really good. There's also another 12-inch called it's in my notes, Being a Dog is for Life, which I wasn't able to get a copy of, but I listened to on YouTube, and I think it's actually even better than this. But the good news is, for Moet the Poet fans out there, Josie Records in Dallas had sealed copies of it that they were a year ago selling for $15 a pop. I know someone must also be buying these because like 2 of them have sold, and now they've got like 1 more copy left. But you can get it cheap. There's another seller in the US that has one for $10. So I'm like, I really like strongly recommend getting over the name Ear Trumpet, because it's good. I mean,
we got over the name Moet the Poet pretty quickly.
I like Moet the Poet.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Like how has his voice matured over the years, you know? So.
Well, not much. And it's also only like three or 4 years between Moet the Poet and this. But it sounds the same, you know. Maybe again, like I wish it had that like desperation, sincerity thing going on that the Moet the Poet the track has. Moet the Poet the track. Mm-hmm. But it's not that, but it's absolutely worth a listen, especially if you're a fan of Wire or Dome. It's
wow.
I like it better than Dome personally. It's more casual listening. So,
Wow.
Ear Trumpet.
That's
That's
awesome.
an awesome pick. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Takes
I've
me
been waiting forever to talk about this on this show.
back.
For a year.
For a year.
Now it's over. What are you going to do with your life? Now
I want to kill myself.
You've reached
it's
your
over.
life goal.
I'm done. That's all I needed to do. That's the last thing on my list.
Yes, you may go now.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
nice knowing you.
Good luck on your next picks. See you later.
You might want to cut this mic before you show anything.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right.
I like that, for the most part, these records seem affordable that we're talking about, and it's a bunch of stuff that I've never heard of. So that's amazing. I hope I can follow that up with this Melvin's 5-inch. No, I'm just kidding. This band is from Southwest Michigan. Gray skies, Kalamazoo, engines, dirty hands every day. They grew up going to basement shows, watching the God Bullies and the Laughing Hyenas. It is the Menthols. You can see the
there you go. Got it. Yeah. Menthols. Got it. Yeah. Michigan Work.
It's the Michigan Works LP. It is gritty like the Hyenas and haunting like the God Bullies are. It has such a Midwest gray sky atmosphere to it, and it just sounds like it was recorded in a dude's like living room of a house that was collapsing in around them as they were playing. In the artwork, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jeff Mahana at all. If not, you should look him up. I think he's only on Instagram, but he does some of the most disturbing drawings, illustrations I've ever seen in my entire life. Yet I can't not look at them. But they are very, very, very creepy stories. So he did the cover of this. Each one is silk screened, very heavy duty. If you could hold this right now, it's very tactile even, the double screening. To me, my favorite part of this whole record though is instead of sides A and B, if you're familiar with Michigan, they have the upper side, which is the UP, and then the lower side is the B side, which is the shape of the lower part of Michigan. All in all, I think it's like 10 tracks of just guitar, bass, drums, engines, dirty hand, growing up in between Chicago and Detroit and just having that. The peak of Kalamazoo, and I know this because I lived there, is on balmy nights in the summer when wind comes from the east to the west, which usually never happens. There's tons of fields where they grow mint for gum and everything that needs mint, and it makes the entire city smell like mint. And so sometimes you can hear like the pop and crack of small arms fire down the street or whatever, but with peppermint scent to it. It's an amazing record, and it's one of the few records that really capture a time and place of where these people are from and where they were when they made the record. Wow. It's the kind of rock, it's just rock and roll, right? But it's the kind of record that you're like, just do this a lot, and you might like you make a face like that. If my buddy Kurt was here, he'd be pumping his arm. Like, it's that kind of like fucking record. Just slow, meandering rock and roll. Midwest. West side of Michigan. That's it.
Beautiful.
There's 100 copies on green and 400 copies on black, and affordable everywhere.
What years?
In fact, if you can't find one, early mid 2000s, I think. It was on UFO Dictator Records. And I think that they still, I can't believe this, but yeah, so the back is the name of the songs, which is definitely hard to read as well. But if you want one, you can't find one, I know that the label itself is still sitting on like probably a box of them. So if you like that rock and roll.
Love me some rock and roll.
Really dark, thundering, repetitive rock and roll. That's my pick. That's number 2.
Number 2, right?
That's it. You were right. I thought this was going to go faster. It's going. I think the pace is slow. We're taking our time.
The dust has settled from the bombshell that I let off. I'm sorry about that. Okay, I'm thinking where to go with my next. I've got 3 left. 2 of them are kind of similar. So I'm thinking of like buffering it with one that isn't similar to those two, but I'm not. I'm gonna go with. We're talking about like bedrooms, weren't we? Like Mo at the Poet, like DIY, like bedroom music made in a bedroom. This is kind of like that in a way. So like last year, I got this compilation. It's pretty cool. It's called the Minimal Tapes.
Oh, I love that comp.
Good. Good. Me too. But I haven't spent enough time with it to dissect it. So what I will say is there's one band or one song that immediately jumped out at me, like the first time I played this record. It's track 6 from the UK. Turquoise Days. Like that song just jumped out at me, and I was like, okay, I got to track down some like Turquoise Days records, but there ain't many. It's like 1 7-inch, right? There's one 7-inch. There's 1 7-inch and a bunch of cassette tapes, right? So why did I like that? Why did I like that song? Well, it's like, I know, it's that sort of minimalist, lo-fi, bedroom synth pop, but you can tell they kind of wanted to be Depeche Mode. They had their eye on something bigger. It sounds like that. They wrote songs, you know. It's not just about like the textures and the mood. So I was like, okay, let's see if I can find something by Turquoise Days. Unfortunately, the nice people at the label put out this comp, Turquoise Days.
Wow.
There's actually 2. There's one that came out first, which is like a single LP, which kind of that went like super quick. So they did another one with like more songs. This is a double LP. Further strategy.
I like that they're just fucking owning the name too. Like that's beautiful. Like I love that.
Turquoise Days.
Yeah, I mean just the cover and everything about it. Yeah,
beautiful.
They're
this is kind of textured, but you know, it's like they're from Jersey, not New Jersey, but the Jersey, from like a little island in the Channel Islands. I used to go there on vacation when I was a kid, so I kind of know Jersey a bit. But I guess it's a song from like all their tapes and the 7-inch, and it's just perfect to me. It's just like that very DIY bedroom synth pop, but songs. You know, it's like they wanted to be a big band. I think, you know, they were writing pop songs using like very cheap equipment, very lo-fi recordings, and there's something to be said about that. I think
I'm so embarrassed to say that after being like, oh yeah, I love that comp, I cannot remember what the Turquoise Day track sounds like on it. It's literally the first thing I do is listen to it when we get off the.
I think for me, it just maybe because I was just expecting one thing, and I wasn't expecting to hear such a sort of catchy song on a compilation like this, so it really stood out to me. Yeah, I love this song.
Like, by looking at the cover, I think is it like twee shoegazy, like what?
No, it's 2 guys. It's like synth pop basically, but icy, right? Cold.
Okay.
But and awesome. Like using, you know, very cheap drum machines, very cheap keyboards. But there's also like guitar that comes in too, like kind of super like, you know, sheet metal guitar that comes in on some songs, you know. But like I keep saying this, I'm repeating myself, but it's got like very like pop sensibilities. Like they wanted to be Depeche Mode. They wanted to be a kind of big band. They never were, obviously. I think there's something quite charming about that. Just like 2 boys in a bedroom, like trying to be, you know, Pet Shop Boys or Depeche Mode or whatever. And like,
that's the fucking best stuff. Like, there's something to be said for. I like the shittier recordings versus the cleaner recordings, where you have the engineer or whoever that's as new at something as you are, right. And it just brings sort of this level of authenticity to everything.
I also love it, like when a band very early on is so clearly trying to achieve more than they might actually be like capable of, but it's just
they're totally like punching above their weight in, you know, you could say, but it's like it's so charming, and I mean a lot of these bands it's a bit too earnest for me, and a bit they've got like the cheap sounds and but like just the songs aren't there, you know. But where this band, it's like it's all about really well written sort of pop song, and I think that's amazing. I mean it's like there's quite a bit of demand for this band, and they're kind of like dropping the ball a bit. I mean this one, they didn't really press enough, so it's already a little bit expensive on the used market. I don't know, but it's out there. It's out there, I guess. But Turquoise days.
The woman who compiled that minimal wave tapes, I think her name is Victoria Velsica. She's a DJ here in New York who's fairly prominent. I've seen her spin a few times, and she does this really interesting mix of lacing a lot of that older 80s cold wave kind of stuff with like a bit more modern sounding like club music, but it's like very tasteful. She's one of the best DJs in New York for sure. I
mean, yeah, Linear Movement, Crash Course in Science, Oppenheimer. I mean, I haven't heard of like any of these.
Oppenheimer Analysis has a couple LPs. They're fairly well known. Crash Course in Science, that's my favorite track on that record. I just love how like ludicrously minimal it is.
Right. Peanut Butter Wolf too was involved in putting this compilation together.
And what years?
This is like 2019, the record, but the tapes are between 81 and 85. Like the original recordings are like 81 to 85.
That would have fit in good with that art interface stuff that I talked about that one time on the show. Like very minimal synth from that same era. That seems like unless you want to get that box set that's like
I tried
bucks or whatever.
I've been looking for that actually, yeah, but
yeah. I have too, I'll be honest, but also I'm like, do I need like that much minimal synth? Like
maximum synth. Yes.
Maximum minimalism.
Yeah. maximum minimal synth. Yes. There we go. Yeah, I never thought. Yeah, I don't know. Like back in the day, I wasn't interested in like this kind of stuff, but I'm all about it in my elderly years. Good stuff.
Sick.
Rolo, I don't know if that's where the Menthols got their name.
Oh,
from.
Sorry, forgot to.
No, that's okay. I just saw that, but the guy who recorded it and was the guitar player in the band. Sean Barney did live on the east side of the city where he would get the smell of it first.
Pretty nice. The town that I grew up in, like, there was a shoe factory, Clark's Shoes.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I fucking used to love Clark's. You look down at your feet and they look like.
So we were all about the Clark's Shoes. My town is famous for the Mob and the Clark's Shoes factory.
Their imprint was I remember the imprint, the sole used to be those small little like circles, right? They changed the sole of the shoe sometime in the early mid 90s, but yeah, they were great. I broke mine in half and they sent me a new pair of shoes.
Knew your sort of dad or mom, you knew your family was sort of having a good year when your new pair of school shoes were Clark's.
I knew this guy in Nashville where I grew up. His name was Josh Dupre, and he was obsessed with Clark's. Like his bedroom was Clark's themed, where somehow he had gotten a hold of a Clark's store display, and so his like wall above his head was like a big like Clark's logo sign, and then like those little displays that you see at the shoe store that hold different shoes. He had like different models of Clark's.
Which is weird. You don't
see them that often.
Would have loved my bedroom. He would have opened the wick curtains in the morning and seen the Clark's Shoe Factory right in front of his very eyes and the smell.
Where is that guy now? I mean,
I'm sure he's
an interesting
of shoe, like Clark's shoe boxes. I don't know. Wow, that's crazy.
He was a big hip hop head, and so he was kind of like into that like very like 90s boom bap kind of hip hop. So like maybe Clark's were like big in that scene. I don't know much about that.
I don't associate hip hop and Clark's.
Yeah, it doesn't seem. Yeah, it doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. No. All right. Let us know in the comments. I didn't expect the Clark's conversation to come into play on this pick, but
yeah, right.
Nice little. All right.
They were great. I used to work at Kmart, and I spent all my. They used to pay in cash, which is fucking great because when you're a kid, you don't understand what cash is. So you're like, I got $100. Let's go to Florida. But I would go down and buy Clark's whenever I had enough money. It was great. They were expensive shoes, but they were. I loved them. I don't anymore.
Great
trade
shoes.
me.
Yeah.
Some guy I knew that was into hip hop stole all my Clarks from me.
Yes. All right. Clark, what's your next pick? Sorry, James, what's your next
Clark. All right. So this is another pick that's been on the back burner for more than a year. I always kind of feel a little bit remiss when I come on the podcast because I rarely have new releases to talk about. And if I learn about a new release, it's usually from this show. And I'm just like not as tapped into new records as they come out. And very rarely when I do I like what I hear. And I'm not sure that's the case with this record. I can't decide how much I actually like it, but it is definitely worth talking about, I think. But I was so stoked because this came out right at the end of 2023, and I was hoping to catch a late 2023, early 2024 episode so I could fucking talk about a new release finally. But it didn't happen. But it's okay because nobody is talking about this record.
Right.
I've seen nobody talk about this record. No one cares about this record or this band. It's not hard to get, even though it was released in only 100 copies on vinyl. But no one cares. And there's a $10 domestic US shipped copy on Discogs right now. Of course, I'm talking about whatever this is.
What is that?
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard enough just to read it. I believe the name of the band is Heihaizi. 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 Now, like just from looking at the cover and seeing this, well, for one, these ski-masked young gentlemen in what looks like a post-Soviet neighborhood, the like quasi sketchy looking font. I don't know why, but just like the band name like does not look friendly.
Yeah.
So to me, like immediately, like just looking at the cover of this record, I was like, this looks like it's from the Balkans. This looks like some fucking Eastern European shit. And sure enough, I was right. The band is from Zagreb, Croatia. And I, it's not very often. Yeah, it's a very glossy record too. It's not very often that I hear a new band and I'm like, haven't heard that before. And I mean, it's not unique, but it's just sort of like I don't think I've heard anyone try to mix these influences. So very clearly, they want to be like the Beastie Boys. They would probably cite the Beastie Boys as their primary influence. It's like U.S. hardcore, but then with like these really cheesy, like kind of like New York rap, but like antiquated, like 80s, early 90s New York rap affectations. They've got a song that says, like that's basically like kind of like rap over, not really rap. I don't know. Fucking, that's them in front of the Clark's Factory. Yes. they're the kind of band that like before a mosh part, in one song they go, check this shit out, and then like go into the like fast part of the song. They've got a song that begins with them going, X gonna give it to you, like DMX. Very fucking odd. Yeah. I don't.
Do they have any lyrics like about fast food or anything? Because that's like
no, but they definitely
drop.
They say retard a bunch and speak in these like mid-song interludes and these like really offensive, like derogatory Mexican fake accents. This is definitely not a PC band, which is like part and parcel with being from the Balkans. But the funny thing is, like when it's fast, it reminds me a lot of like a Mother Records, New Jersey shorecore band. Like it just kind of has that like, and it's interesting because it's like those bands, they want to be from New York and they want to be playing New York hardcore, but they're like not quite getting it right. And a lot of it is like, like the vocals are in English and you don't detect a Croatian accent. It's like this like sort of like cheesy like, yo, New York, what yeah, what's up, kind of. So like some like these people have probably never been to the United States, but like have this like idea of how people behave. But then the other thing too is because of that, like it you know, the vocals are a little bit like it's tough. Sometimes it sounds like a shorecore band. Sometimes it sounds a little bit like a like Mystic Records, like nardcore kind of band. Like when it's in hardcore mode, but then they throw in these like very very weird like 90s hip hop references throughout as well. It is a fucking weird record. I find it charming. I threw it on again this afternoon and played it really loud and was like, I'm on the fence about it, back and forth. I listen to this. I'm like, these are not the kind of dudes I'd want to hang out with, but there's something that's kind of like strange and left field about this record. And so, you know, no one else has talked about it. I don't know why, but it was like very stoned or drunk one night. I was like listening to like the Bandcamp, a distro a friend of mine runs in Athens, Greece, had copies of it. I was just like, that looks interesting. I want to know what this sounds like. And off of one listen, I ordered it. He was out of copies. I had to order it from Turbo Discos Records in Germany, who put it out. And of course, I ended up with like some bent ass corners on it. I also got 2 copies. So if anyone wants one, hit me up. I'll just give it to you at cost. But it's cool and odd, and no one else has talked about it. So look at me. James has talked about a new record for once.
2023.
2023. A new record. I try.
Cool.
You've teed me up because I continually get hassled
for saying retarded.
But no, for other reasons. Not just that. For not showing any new new records, because I'm always like, because it wasn't that long ago that I was recently reacquainted with all my records, and now I'm just going through and pulling out stuff that I haven't heard in a while. I'm like, this is so fucking great. Like, I love this. But I did recently go to Minneapolis to see my friend Dan's art opening. And while you're in Minneapolis, you have to go to Extreme Noise, because I think that's just part of the tour. So I got a huge fucking stack of records. And one of the things I got was a brand new record. Came out in 2024. So, James, I beat you by a year. But the band is Bloodstains.
Oh, good band.
And people are talking about this band like it's a SoCal sound, like the Adolescents. But I feel like it's more like the Observers from Seattle, like the second record that they never put out. Like a little bit cleaner sounding, but it's got all of the makings of those style clean sounding punk songs with all of the right changes and the harmonies and just completely front to back driving. All 10 songs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 songs on here. It's a nonstop fun record. Where when I first put it on, I was flipping it for like the second time around and hadn't even realized it, right? But I had started to already know the songs on it. I don't think it's gonna. It's probably gonna make a top 10 list for 2024 or whatever. Awesome record, says Prime Directive. He is 138. It's a great record. It's an earworm. Like once you hear it the second or third time, you're not even gonna realize that you've heard these songs, but you're already humming them. And then they're just gonna be with you for the whole day. I think that. Gosh, it came out in 2024, and I don't know if it's one pressing, or they have like 19 different versions of it, but I don't know if it's just a different cover for each time they put it out, or if they've had
it got pressed in the UK by Drunken Sailor, because the American one went super quick. So I don't know which one it is that you have. If it's the
mine's the most recent, probably the American one, Mike.
You'd be surprised. Like a couple people said that they had to get the British one because the American one.
Well, I think there's still a couple at Extreme Noise. So if there's any Minneapolis people, I know they don't ship, so you'll have to go in and just grab it. And by the way, if you do go in there, somebody dropped off a huge Australian punk collection. So make sure to go through all of their 7 inches and look in the case, because there's lots and lots of stuff in there. if you're into the hard-ons.
There's a hard-on sec. 3 pressings, 2 US. Okay, and then the UK one on Drunken Sailor.
So yeah, I would suggest this for anybody that's just looking for something that they want to have on and just keep their blood pressure like up and moving around the house and doing things. It's a great chores record if you need to do things and stay motivated, clean your room, fluff your pillows, do your laundry, change your socks or change anybody's socks.
I spend a lot of time fluffing
It's
my
great.
pillows. I've been looking for a soundtrack for that. So
Yeah. Hopefully within 4 songs you'd be able to do it. But yeah, it's great. I mean, songs like Suburban Suicide, I mean, Stray Bullets, Public Hanging, they're all, you could close your eyes and throw darts at a punk word bulletin board, and that's how they came up with the titles of these things. It's pretty perfect. There's no downside to it other than well, I don't know. Someone in the chat tell me what the downside is.
No, it's not too short. It's just the right.
No, it's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. Because that's the one thing about that Observers record. The second press of that, I think it has an extra track or two, and the first press is just pretty succinct. But then you add those couple extra tracks, especially to a punk record, it can kind of get like physically, mentally exhausting if it's an extra 6 minutes long. It sounds stupid, but I mean,
true.
Yeah.
You know, like the Japanese pressing of Hear Nothing, See Nothing, Say Nothing. Like a lot of people want that record. What they might not know is there's like 2 bonus tracks at the beginning of side A and side B that totally like kill the record.
Really?
It's just like
I hate it when they do that too, rather than just tack them onto the end of a record.
So what were they thinking? It's like it's such a desirable record, it's like beautiful Japanese pressing. They went and put like,
wait, what tracks?
It's like the 7-inch, right? It's one of the 7 inches. They put like side A and side B at the beginning of like side A and side B. And it's just like it sounds different. It's like a totally different recording.
Right.
It just kills the whole flow of the record. So don't do it. Or just put the extra tracks on a bonus CD in a box, like Human Gas would have done.
Yeah. I think it's important. I think there are records that I like only like the first side by the way that the songs are synced on there. And I think that there are records that are only good in the pantheon of all music that are only good because of the way those songs are sequenced. And you put them any other way, it would make that album boring.
Right.
So you're right. Tacking that stuff on is bad. And I still hate the Jam for putting the Batman theme on as the last song.
Right.
Fucking kills me. Yeah.
All right. Were they punk? Were they power pop? Were they new wave? Were they pub rock? Yes, or no, or maybe yes to some of them, no to some of them. I remember like people loved this collection when it came out. I'm surprised like nobody's talked about it yet. I've been meaning to talk about it for a while. Let's look at the record. Everyone knows this record, I think.
Masterpiece.
It's
perfect.
The
Perfect
incredible
music.
band. Like also
could have been the biggest fan in the world, I feel like
too much, too little, too late. Like sums up this perfectly.
Right.
This band could have been like huge. They didn't put out an album when they were around in the mid 70s. They put out a couple of singles. They kind of jumped around record labels. I don't think people knew what to do with them. In 1977, they weren't like the Sex Pistols. But you know what? They could have been on Raw Records. They could have been on Stiff. They could have done something. They didn't do anything right back then. The incredible Kidda band.
They were better than a lot of the bands that were on Raw and stuff.
Better than a lot of the bands that like had singles and records and record deals. I can't think off the top of my head a better record that is just demos than this one. I can't think of one. 4 demos, like was it 70, 80? It's funny, 80, 77, 79, and 79, and then they kind of get mixed up a little bit at the end. I think there's lots of different demos at the end, but like the first, like the 1980 demo is like, wow. I mean, it's as good as the Boys or the Buzzcocks almost.
Yeah, they just got better and better.
That's awesome.
And then the funny thing is, like the 7-inch that came out, the one that's worth so much money that has Everybody Knows on it, and that's a great track. But like, the band is so like rudimentary at that. Like, what they became later, the songwriting got so fucking good.
It's so like streamlined, economical. There's like no excess fat. There's no kind of weird influences either. There's no like weird like psychedelic. It's just like straight to the point, snappy. I mean, it's punk. Come on, this is surely punk. But I mean, you know, this is what they look like. But kind of this is what like Slaughter and the Dogs look like. This right? You know.
I fucking love it. Like, that's a haircut that needs to come back. But
this guy here, he's the man. Like, we used to try and get a haircut like this back in the day, in the mid.
Well, now it's the haircut that your local non-binary barista has. You know, so it is a popular haircut again. That's all I'm saying.
But this was the coolest haircut to have back in those days, man. It's like, but it's like, you know. Yeah. Slaughter and the Dogs, Bay City Rollers, everyone kind of looked the same back then. But
was that was on Detour, right?
This is on Detour.
Has it been repressed, or is it?
No, I don't think so.
I've been looking for a fucking copy of that for a while. They're hard to find.
So if anyone out there like loves power pop and loves like 77 punk and has not yet heard the incredible Kidda band, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than this, and it's just demos. It's like, Jesus Christ, this is like better than like a lot of bands like full length proper like records.
Yeah, that's great because they don't have the producer to be like, oh yeah, like hang behind the beat a little bit or like do all that like stuff that they do in the studio that changes what they sounded like when they wrote the song.
I was going to mention like favorite songs, but it's hard because there's like no bad songs on it.
Radio Caroline's great. Love that track.
The Girl Said No is one of my favorites. I mean, yeah, if you like the Boys, if you like good music, if you like the Boys, Buzzcocks, the more aggressive power pop, this is like, you can't really get much better than.
They're so much better than that less incredible Kid A band, Radiohead.
Yes. But I think they got messed around. People didn't know what to do with them. It's like, you know, that's why they have so many demos. It's like, we'll do this demo for this label and this demo for that label, and nobody wanted it, and nobody wanted to put it out. And they changed their name to the Kidda band, and then they changed their name to the Kicks, and then like it was all a big mess, and nothing ever happened. But
what does does Kidda, is that like slang? Does that mean anything?
It's a kind of, you can't kid a kidda. It's like you can't.
Okay. The Kidda band. Okay, got it.
Yeah, like a liar, you know, like a joker. Yeah. I think that's what it means. But check it out. We'll check them out.
Oh man! By the way, referring to one of the first posts in the chat, I just realized you were wearing a Dag Nasty shirt, and I wondered why somebody said something about Field Day. I'm like, if you're still listening, I apologize, because when I first saw your commenter, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What is he talking about? Dag Nasty? Like,
right, he noticed he noticed what I was wearing. I got this from Disc Union actually the other day. I could not resist it. I saw it. It was my size. It's not often you come across a Dag Nasty wig out a Denko's t-shirt.
Did you have some Coke and Doritos when you were there?
All right, whose turn is it? It's Paul's turn.
It's me.
It's me.
I'll try to be as brief as possible with this because I know that I feel like my takes go on quite a long and are full of a lot of backstory and setup. And that's kind of what we have. That's definitely what this is. It's personal history wrapped in with like a minor scene report, but around one record. And the record I'll just go straight out the gate with. It's this slab right here from a band called the Bollocks.
Okay. Which
My
Bollocks?
Friend. And this is from Malaysia.
Not from DC.
Malaysia.
No. This is from Malaysia, circa like 1997 or 98. Released on 1994, 95 is when this came out. Are you familiar with Tin and Men 89 Records?
France.
I think so. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that did it. I forgot to put this in my research, but there's this very like world traveler guy who put out very Lucas. Thank you. And he would just dig up these bands from middle of nowhere, China, rural Chinese punk rock bands, and release like a 7-inch by them. And man, I love this EP. I have a lot of like sentimental attachment to this record because growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, coming across punk, it was kind of like a wasteland of a place. And I had one good friend there. We called him Gramps because he was a Malaysian exchange student at Vanderbilt University. Not even really even an exchange student. Like engineering is a big deal in Malaysia, and Vanderbilt's an engineering school. So they'll pluck kids with good grades out of high school and show them pictures of like New York and say, we'll pay for your education and send you to the US. And then they send you to a fucking hellhole like Nashville instead. And that's kind of what this guy did. And he was, this like, punk guy from Malaysia that moved to Nashville. And he was the first person that I met that was really familiar with international punk and hardcore. He showed me a lot of my first exposure to Japanese and Scandinavian underground hardcore punk records. And he had a radio show called Punk Radio on WRVU 91.1, WRVU Nashville, which is actually the very first college radio station ever, period. It started off as a pirate radio station that this guy, Ken Berryhill, started out of his dorm in like mid 1950s. And he ran a wire up the building dormitory to catch a signal and was, doing pirate radio back in those days. And eventually Vanderbilt University just bought a license and started the first college radio channel. But anyway, so Gramps would do this show and I would hear so much music. We'd go and hang out with him in the studio. He would let us DJ sometimes, which like when you're 15 years old in high school, like it's such a big deal, especially because the WRVU reach was huge. It was broadcasting out of Nashville. You could hear it in Atlanta and Louisville. Massive. You're tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, potential listeners. And this was like one of the themes of his show. He would always play this track on here called Chaos KP, which stands for Kuala Pila, which is really funny because Kuala Pila is like middle of nowhere, Malaysia. It's 2 hours outside of Kuala Lumpur, rural little town. So the idea of like these punks, Chaos KP, it's like very, very funny. But you'd always play this track, Chaos KP. We must stick together. It's like an earworm. It's not going to blow your fucking mind. It's just very endearing street punk, mid 90s. And then this band is like one of the longest running, still active bands in Malaysia. They eventually kind of like abandoned their like street punk sound and became more of like a crusty kind of band. But on my trip in Asia over the last year, I finally got to go to Malaysia, met up with Gramps. I actually met him once before he came. His name is Fahmi Reza, and he's become a street artist along the lines of like Shepard Fairey. He's sort of like a household name now in Malaysia, where he got very well known for taking on this guy Najib Razak, who was the old prime minister in Malaysia and ran a very, very corrupt government. And you could get locked up very easily speaking out against it. And he was kind of like being very fearless and very punk talking about it and putting up this image of Razak as a clown all over the city, and it just became like iconic, kind of like Malaysia's answer to like Andre the Giant has a posse or something like that. And so he's all over the place. Everyone kind of knows him. He still does a lot of activism, is like fairly involved in the punk scene in Kuala Lumpur. So it's like sick to finally go to Malaysia, see where he came from, talk about it. I did get to go to a show. So it's a little bit of a scene report wrapped into this because I just wanted to shout out that I had a really, really amazing time in Kuala Lumpur. I went to a gig at a DIY space there called Rumah Api, which is like in the 4th story of this like very dense mixed use commercial industrial neighborhood. And it's just like people were just so fucking nice and welcoming. As soon as I walk in, it's like, oh, there's an outsider. And like everybody's like coming up and talking to me, introducing themselves. Met a lot of really, really great people there that night. And one of the bands I saw is this band called Nightwolf, which is like a metal punk band, very, very much in that sort of like ineptcy vibe. And live, they really fucking blew me away. I bought a couple of tapes. This is kind of their first album, which I did get also released on vinyl from a Chinese label, I think. And then they had just come out with this when I was there, and I would say this is the one to get. It's a split release with Military Shadow from Japan, and both sides of this thing are just absolutely killer. awesome release. So I wanted to shout out Nightwolf. Those guys are really great. Still in contact with their guitarist and songwriter, this guy who goes by Iwan Ucheda. You can like see where
I've met him a couple of times.
Super nice dude. I love that guy. Very very friendly.
Jungle. I met him in a jungle about an hour and a half, 2 hours outside of Kuala Lumpur at a Tragedy gig.
Really? I did not realize you went down there for Tragedy.
I went all the way there, and I went to somewhere else to see him too. But
so what's so funny about this is Reza was at that show. So like, you know, like his Hero Is Gone guys at the time from Memphis were like, they were the generation older than me, and Gramps, as we called him, was a little bit closer to their age than mine. And so like these guys would really kind of put me under their wing and like showed me all this stuff at a time when no one in the US was listening to this outside of like Minneapolis and Portland had scenes that were interested in foreign hardcore. But you know, Tennessee, good fucking luck. But then suddenly Gramps and his Hero guys like really shook it up. So yeah, I knew that like they I think briefly got to reconnect with Reza at those shows, which is really interesting. I will also say, after the gig, we went and rode our mopeds out to the middle of who knows where, some suburb of KP or KL, Kuala Lumpur, and drank until sunrise in front of some housing project with some really, really nice people that were in another band called The Swindle, which is sort of like a UK 82 street punk style band. The name of their album is Loud, Gross, and Misbehave, which I fucking love. Like most ludicrous name of anything. But and we would drink. They turned me on to this like the local brew, which is like this like mixture of like locally made illegal moonshine and kratom, and you're drinking that fucking mix until like sunrise. It was a lot of fun. That made a lot of friends that night. It was really cool. Really kind of learned a little bit about the very active Southeast Asian punk scene. Was very, very interesting. Like lots of very fucking punk people there, but because it's a majority Muslim country, there's still this like conservatism that permeates. So you meet these like studded jacket, spiky haired punks, but they're all married and like 21 years old and like starting their families. And it like seems like very important that like they start like very kind of traditional families. I remember at the gig, there's this one girl there that was honestly just gorgeous, who aside from that, I couldn't take my eyes off of her because she was also like very like metalhead, wearing this like battle vest with all the patches and a Sodom back patch on the back, but then also a hijab on top of it. You know, it's just like such a fucking fascinating mixture of cultures. I had a really, really, great time. So I wanted to shout out those other two bands. I also wanted to say that Bollocks EP has gotten quite hard to find. It has been reissued.
There you go.
And the Reza helped me get a copy of the reissue because it's already sold out from the local record store there. And we took it home and listened to it, and we're like instantly disappointed. It's like they fucked up the sound. It sounds like it's like recorded on like a degrading cassette tape or something. It's not right. And then the original 7-inch recording comes from a demo, and then the demo was re-released on 7-inch. So it's the same recordings, except whatever machine that was playing the tape that they mastered the 7-inch from was playing the record at the wrong speed. So technically, it's been reissued twice, and both times are just total shit jobs. And then the EP itself, I finally found later in my trip when I went to Japan at Record Boy. They had a copy. And so I was able to finally, after like 30 years of looking for this thing, pick it up. It's got a really nice silk screen cover, handmade out of like 500 copies. But yeah,
nice.
The Bollocks, my friend. Also, I was supposed to talk about one more band called ACAB, which is a Malaysian boy band that's really seriously fantastic. And Reza was going to send me some records, but they didn't get here in time for the show.
Okay.
So
next time.
But anyways, yeah, that's my miniature Malaysian scene report.
Just to go back real quick, Mike, you drove into a jungle to see Tragedy.
Wow, I didn't know that. So I went to Kuala Lumpur to see Tragedy. We booked the tickets, and for some reason they didn't have it in one of the DIY venues that James had mentioned. It might have been the same one or one of the other ones. they decided to have it in the middle of like this jungle using generators, and we had to sort of like try and make our own way there, and there was a lot of like technical problems, and it was dark, and Tragedy played like 4 hours later than they were like supposed to play, but it was great. It was a good time. Yeah. Great days.
That's awesome.
Also, Rachel has corrected me in the chat saying that WPRB started before WRVU. Look, I just go at with what they tell me. Maybe I swallowed the Vanderbilt propaganda, but when you go and you become a DJ there, they tell you, "Oh, we're the first. We're the first."
You believe what they tell you.
Maybe using a loophole there. I don't know.
All right. Paul, what's your next pick?
My fourth pick came as a surprise to me because my oh man, my dog's gonna bark in a second. And that wasn't the surprise. My cousin Steve Willis, who also got me this fantastic Detroit bourbon, also gave me a subwoofer. I never had one before, like hooked up to my stereo, and I just Jilly, look at this little girl.
Oh, it's a bear.
Yeah. I'm gonna put her out for it. I'm gonna put her
to sleep real quick.
Put her to sleep. That's
Or snap the neck of this poor dog.
How's everyone doing? You enjoying the show so far? Yes.
Yeah, how's it going, chat?
Okay.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh yes.
All right. If I have twins, it's gonna be their names. Like and subscribe. So until he got me the subwoofer, there's just records that I haven't really heard the way that I hear them now. And this record, initially I had on cassette tape. When I was in high school, I went into Record World, this local store, a town of like 5,000 people. And I went into the soundtrack section, and I was looking for the soundtrack for the movie The Hunger, because I wanted that version of Bela Lugosi's Dead by Bauhaus on there. They didn't have that. Two things ruined it. One, they didn't have that cassette for the soundtrack. And number two is that song isn't on the soundtrack. So it was a bummer, but not like a cool bummer in a goth way. It wasn't on there. So the guy though said, "Hey, I have something that's also moody that you might like." And something that now I've just been holding on to that I picked up as a vinyl copy probably like 30 years ago and never listened to it until recently that I really hear the full dynamics of it with this subwoofer. Brought out this entire fucking low end and weirdness to this record that I'd never heard before. It's a soundtrack for the Emerald Forest.
Whoa.
And I don't know, I think I'd never seen the movie, but I think like a rich white family leaves their baby in a jungle, but it doesn't turn out in a cool way like Tarzan. It turns out more tragic or whatever. But it has like some of the most thunderous low end stuff, the weird clicks and pops, the rain falling. Sometimes it sounds like people are just like slapping their legs. There's weird like humming and buzzing in the background that I can't tell if it's from hot mics or people making sounds, or they just like fucking recorded mosquitoes for a while. And if it weren't for the subwoofer from Steve Willis, I never would have thought to even play this record again. But now I think I've listened to it more in the past 6 months than anything else. It is completely hypnotic and bizarre. And there's one throwaway track on here, as nearly every album has on it, that I think that all of the people in the studio making it were like, "Hey, we're also studio musicians, and this guy's Jaco Pastorius, and we could have a jazz tune we want to throw on here." So that's kind of fucks the whole vibe up. So if you get this record, probably for 25 cents anywhere, just put a scratch for that second to the last record on the last side. But everything else on here, each song is completely different, and the sounds are just fucking incredible and haunting, and a very good atmosphere record to put on after you're done with your chores, after you're done fluffing pillows and changing other people's socks. This is a great thing to just put on by a fire or start a fire while this is on, and enjoy yourself a little bit.
That looks familiar.
Other people's socks. How does that work? Like you're putting socks on other people's feet?
Hey, look, I don't know how you spend your time. You've been away for a year.
Have you seen the movie yet?
Like again, no, I've never seen the movie. I never want to watch the movie because I feel like, what if I watch the movie and like it ruins it? Like that's the same reason that I'll never watch Forrest Gump, because I love the soundtrack so much. That's not true. I know. But for this, I feel like if I can like hear these songs and then I picture like whatever's going on here and it's something stupid, I'll be like, oh, fuck. Now I'm just happy to know that like maybe he's trying to shoot a raindrop to prove like his awesomeness. But yeah, I don't know. I'll keep the movie a mystery and the soundtrack close to my heart.
I think you're probably wise. I did the same thing with Tangerine Dream. Has a great soundtrack for this Michael Mann movie called The Keep. And
yes, The Keep. Man. Yes, same fucking thing.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite Tangerine Dream records. But then like I finally saw the movie, and I love Michael Mann, and I was like, oh, not so good.
I have the exact same experience with that exact same record. I was with my buddy Chris Chapman, and we got that tape, and we listened to it all the way back for like 2 hours in his car, and then we just played it. We're like, we should fucking see this movie. If it's half as good as this tape, then we're gonna love both of them forever. And I was like, oh, no.
You think a movie about Nazis discovering a portal to hell, like, oh, that's going to be a great movie, and it's not.
Yeah. And that's the best part of the movie, is the sentence about the movie.
That's the one that looks like, okay, Long Knife kind of like paid homage on their album, right? It looks like,
right, yeah. So that's the Keep movie poster only.
Right.
That's fucking funny, but you're right. I can imagine that'd be great, because now I just see those guys watching this movie being like, yo, get me another 40. Like, this is the best part.
Right.
This is where the indigenous tribe finds the baby in the bush, like, or whatever the fuck happens.
Nice. All right.
All right. Number 4.
Beautiful. All right. Last round, eh? Wow. I realize that my last pick is kind of similar to my fourth pick, both like musically and like kind of story wise. They're a Japanese band that kind of nobody talks about when we think about old Japanese punk, and probably for a reason. They're only around for a couple of years. They put out two LPs, two singles in 1881. People talk about Anarchy and the Blue Hearts and the Star Club. Nobody like ever talks about this band. They should do, and you can get their records because Record Shop Base reissued them, and so they're not that hard to get. I think these records are amazing. This is the original. Came out on King Records or Seven Seas Records.
Yeah.
Skin is the name of the band. Skinless is the name of the record. This is the original. And then Bass Records reissued it. I took it out of the sleeve. You can't see it, but it's printed on the yes.
Oh wow.
The original and the reissue are both like printed on the
Do you sleeve that sleeve so it doesn't get scratched next to your other records?
Should I do that?
I don't know. I'm asking from like a collector side of things. Like, I know people do and some that don't.
This is like the original, and like there was a piece of cardboard in the back to kind of protect it a bit, because it's a very thin, like, insert.
Got you.
Stinks of tobacco. It's amazing. Tobacco and like mold. And then this is the reissue. Great band. I think this band was a big influence on sort of like 90s Japanese garage punk and power pop than people might think. And I was listening to it, I was thinking, man, this sounds like this band and this sounds like that band. And I looked it up, and like most of these bands were actually on Bass or Mangrove Records like 20 years later, like on that Chloroform compilation, like bands like Tonight and all those kind of bands. Definitely influenced by Skin. Absolutely no question.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely no question. You can even hear like a little bit of like later period, like slow motions in Skin. Absolutely a direct influence. 100%.
I've seen those records so many times, and like I'm embarrassed to admit I've never bothered listening to them.
I mean, think about it. Right out of the gate, major label band, like two singles, 2 LPs, major label, not on a cool label. They were around for 2 or 3 years, but man, I mean, this is like very like straight ahead, almost kind of like the Kidda band. That's great, like punky power pop with like no excess fat, no weird influences, raw recording, like thin guitars, just great early Japanese punk that wasn't on a cool label, and just were kind of forgotten about. But I think definitely, absolutely a big influence on like Japanese like garage punk and Japanese power pop.
What kind of bands were they playing with back in the day?
I don't, I couldn't get any information about this band like at all, even though they're on a major label. I don't know. I mean, I don't think they would have been playing with like the Star Club. I don't know.
What years was it?
1980. So as far
what was that
in
band?
punk terms, that's kind of late, but in Japan punk terms, it's quite early.
Like the Plastics, or
it's a little bit more punk than that. Even it's a bit more like raw records, like kind of
What was that? The band that the guys from Devo discovered, or what was the other one?
The Plastics would have been one of those kind of synth pop, herky jerky, like quirky bands. But this band, Skin, definitely 100% would have been like an influence. And looks like this. They have 2 LPs, 2 singles, but yeah, right.
Don't do what Simon did. Don't put it next to your Feeders record.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got to put it next to your other silk screen PVC cover records. You have to have a whole section for that where you put your Military Affairs and Neurotic.
Yes.
12-inch.
Yep.
Those are the only 2 I can think of. Otherwise, I'm sure there's more.
But I love the way that bass, they went like, they completely replicated the original, no expense spared on this.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But I think this is a hard record to sell. You see this like used all the time.
Awesome for me.
Yeah, but man, it's like, check them out. They got songs on YouTube and stuff. Just great early Japanese punk that like nobody talks about. Oh, sorry. So Slow Motion are still going. Yeah, they are with it.
Yeah. I was gonna say they played one of those Roger Armstrong gigs recently, didn't they?
I think maybe. Yeah. I was gonna say, James, you went to Fink Spa, right, in Tokyo?
Oh yeah, Poor Cow.
Yeah.
Great
so
spot.
Fink from Teen Generate and Firestarter has a bar in Tokyo, and I was watching one of his videos the other day actually, and he had a guy making the video in there, and he's like, "Oh, this is like one of my like Japanese like punk 7-inch boxes," and when he got to Skin, he honestly, I'm not joking, he was like, "Check this band out, very important like Japanese punk band," and he showed like the 2 singles. And they're definitely a big influence on all of his bands. You can like 100%.
Yeah,
tell.
That's awesome. It was Fink going through the records.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, going through his like Japanese 7-inches, like Skin, very cool, like old like early first wave Japanese punk band, great band, that kind of thing. So
man, Poor Cow is great, but every time I go the next morning, I feel like I have a cold. The amount of cigarette smoke you inhale in that place is it's toxic. I don't understand like how Fifi fucking bartends there every night and doesn't have fucking like cancer. It's
Fifi's the owner, right? Not Fink. It's Fifi's, right? Sorry.
Yeah. But Fink is always there too and DJing.
Okay. Zunzun is great. That's the second Skin record. That's also great too. Just both great records that nobody talks about when it comes to like early Japanese punk.
It sounds like maybe more people would talk about them in the power pop.
It's that thing. It does struggle like that kind of like fence between punk and power pop. But
that's my favorite kind of shit. Pointed sticks, like all that stuff that is like that. What was that? The 45 that you showed on here, the 23 joules or whatever.
Yeah,
James.
Bogart.
Like it's too fast for power pop and too not throat slitty enough for punk.
Right.
And
that record is also like too like rough even for power pop too. It's like,
yeah, I mean that's exactly where I like, because sometimes when they say power pop, I'm like, this just sounds like from some fucking 60s.
Well, I was going to say that. I was going to show we kind of discuss what is power pop, but it's too wide of a net.
Yeah, it's so nebulous, right?
It's like it doesn't really mean anything.
And now it's gotten so broad. I've bought records that they're like, "Oh, power pop." I'm like, "No, man, this sounds like fucking Loverboy." Like,
I was going to say one more thing. It's like,
no offense to Loverboy
good,
or Honey.
One of the best Canadian bands going. I was going to say, this has a bit of like the styling in it too.
Oh,
Like,
interesting.
you know, but like the
Really?
more like, you know, songs like Stop Girl, like the more kind of poppy commercial songs.
Mm-hmm.
The Skin kind of have that feel to them as well a little bit. So that's it. That's enough about Skin. It's
What's that ludicrous punk festival in Kawasaki I went to? Punk never died, punk forever. Punk lives. Punk lives. They seem like a band that would play on the Punk Lives. Like,
well, if they had have reformed and were still going, but again, like I said, like they just did these records and then disappeared. Never.
You're not talking about the rapper Ludacris.
no, but I might be about to.
The CEO of Clark's America.
Yeah. It's all about to come full circle. We'll see.
All right, James. What's your last? Pick?
So we live in what could only be described as the golden age of reissues. Any weird obscurity records that even never really made it to vinyl are somehow getting luxurious vinyl editions, box sets even. Like I think it's awesome, but also, like I don't know, I usually chase down originals, but two instances where I will buy a reissue. If it's a record that's just like out of my price range and I'll probably never afford it or don't like it enough to buy an original, or if it's something that was never released on vinyl in the first place. And one of my loves, having grown up in Tennessee, again, is 90s underground Southern gangster rap. New Orleans and Houston, of course, but being a Tennessee guy, the Memphis scene is the most important thing to me. It was, a group like 3 6 Mafia is the Beatles for anyone especially who was growing up in Tennessee in the 90s. But really, like anywhere south of the Mason-Dixon, this was the case. Like everyone agreed on 3 6.
Just real quick, who is their Yoko then?
Who? Damn. Well, no one really.
You can keep going.
Like they're kind of all their own Yoko because they're also like kind of like self-destructive and like made so many wrong decisions. But it was just like it didn't matter. Like I grew up in a town of like 1,200 people, Ashland City, Tennessee. And it was like it should have been like hard to be a punk in this little high school that I went to, but generally people liked me. But also, I could always start up conversation with the jocks, the rednecks, the wigger kids, the fucking sports people, like whatever else. We could always agree on 3 6 Mafia. It was just like this uniting thing that I think is like a very like typical like Southern experience. And it's so weird how back then you could leave the Mason-Dixon zone and no one knew who the fuck 3 6 Mafia was. Yet down there, 3669 was like the album that everyone was listening to, bar none, by like 2000. But back then, rap was still regional. If you listen to like the local like radio station that is playing, that they're playing like the top 40 rap mixed with like a regional sound, and what you're going to hear on the regional rap station in Nashville is going to be completely different from the Houston rap station or the New Orleans rap station. I love that these albums were going platinum, and yet we're not getting radio airplay outside of the region that they came out on. That's so fucking interesting to me. But what's great is all of these things came out on, the real underground Memphis releases came out on cassette. But even like the most popular stuff was CD only. At best, if you were lucky, you might find like Selecto Hits pressed up a 12-inch sampler that has tourniqueted versions of some of the songs on an album, but none of this shit came out on vinyl. And they on various labels over the last few years, they've been coming out in droves. And I'm just like so obsessed with them. I will buy 3 6 Mafia, The End, their second album, 3 6 Mafia Mystic Styles, their first album, 3 6 Mafia 3669 When the Smoke Clears. Vinyl on Demand put this out. You know how much it hurt my soul to actually pay money for a vinyl on demand release, but I had to have it. I mean, this is like, this album like just defines part of my essence, right? And finally on vinyl, wow, holy shit, yeah, had to order it right away. Kustin, if you get like, they're even doing like sort of like the one-off member solo side projects. Also, Prophet Posse, another. I mean, it's just like they keep going and going. Some of the non-3-6, but like a more obscure artist, like
amazing. I love this so much.
Fucking
Just
like this
visually,
shit
it's amazing.
rules. Now, my favorite rapper of all time is Project Pat, and if I'm going to like recommend a Project Pat release to someone, it's real tough. It kind of depends like where they come from and what they're into. If they're a punk, I'm going to recommend this right here, Murderers, Robbers. This is like basically the first Project Pat solo tape.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Please.
Do you file that directly after Mo with the Poet?
I file all of my 3-6 and 3-6 related records in T's next to 3-6. So like Project Pat is not in the P's. Right. Prophet Posse is not in the P's, but it's a 3-6. But anyway, so this is like the classic Project Pat, like first release, tape only release. Was eventually released on CD a few years later. Very lo-fi. But if I'm talking to the general public and I'm going to recommend one album, either by Project Pat or just like that, like really, especially someone who's like might not be more used to the lo-fi stuff and like want to hear like a commercial sounding late 90s, early 2000s rap record, I think it's got to, it's got to be Project Pat's finest moment. And the one I had been waiting for a few years for someone to finally release on vinyl, Project Pat's Abbey Road. Yes, we're talking about Getty Green, a label called Get Down Records re-released this one at the beginning of the year. I bought it when I was laid up in my Chiang Mai apartment, not able to walk after my accident, and saw that it had come out. So I was like, again, it was a case of like, cool, I'm gonna fucking like order this record and I get to hear it like who fucking knows when, months and months and months from now. So, when I came back to my apartment after like traveling around and sending myself back all of these records and a lot of cool, rare punk records, whatever, this is actually the first thing I reached for and grabbed. It's like I've been waiting all fucking year to hear Getty Green on vinyl. I mean, I don't know where to begin. Like Project Pat was like, he has this, if you're not familiar, he has this like nursery rhyme style of rapping that is like very simplistic and funny. He's full of personality. One of his albums, I believe it's Land the Smackdown, has a photo of him in the studio recording his vocals, and he's like eating a plate of chicken wings while he's rapping. He's like the funniest fucking guy. He's gone like very Christian lately and is like doing sermons at prisons around the South, but he's still performing and says all the bad words. And it's not like he's like it's not like when Prince became Jehovah's Witness and refused to play in the old stuff. He's with the Lord now, but he's still he knows what pays the bills. But I mean, this just has like so many of the best Project Pat songs, plus a really fucking funny skits in between. You get this a lot with rap records from the 90s where they do these skits in between tracks, and they're never good. They're never funny. But man, on 3-6 and especially the Project Pat records, they're actually like, I'll listen to them 100 times and still laugh. So anyways, Getty Green on vinyl, finally, one of my favorite rap records. Paul, you have a question.
One of us has a question. I think it's Paul. Yes.
So
this band is from Asheville, Tennessee.
So Memphis.
Memphis.
A person, not a band. Yeah. Project Pat is the brother of Juicy J from 3-6 Mafia, who like later became huge and produced like Katy Perry records and shit.
Right. Okay, so the band is from Memphis.
The man is from Memphis.
But the band from Memphis? And the man is from from Memphis.
The band, as in like Levon Helm
or 361.
3-6 Mafia is from Memphis. Yes.
Well,
because I was confused by the record before that, Murderers and Robbers.
And
I was like,
this is the Project Pat solo tape.
Because you had said you're like from a town of like 12,000 people.
Ashland City, Tennessee.
And so I was like, God, is it like Murder, She Wrote, where like there's a person getting killed every week? Like how fucking damaged is Asheville, Tennessee? But now that you say Memphis, yeah, it fucking makes sense. Of course they are. Like,
it is, but here's the funny thing, right? Is that Memphis gangster rap is typified by being like pre-horrorcore. The lyrics are always about murder, suicide, death, the devil, Satan, being mentally tortured. But the thing is, almost all of those rappers are still alive. Versus if you look at, say the Houston scene, which was mostly inspired musically by like West Coast G-funk and is way laid back. And all of those songs are about sipping lean,
Parties,
riding your car, having a good, like those songs aren't violent at all. Yet all of the major rappers are dead, either shot or OD'd on promethazine. Big Mo, Big Hawk, Lil Stevie, DJ
everything,
Screw, obviously.
everything about that record that you have right there, I love. I like the like first day with Photoshop kind of look. I like everything about it is just perfect for what
So
I want.
are you
I like
familiar
the
with
Robert
Pin
one
and
better.
Pixel graphics?
No.
So that's like very integral. They're the reason why all of these mid 90s to early 2000s rap records look the same. They were all done from whether you're 3-6 Mafia or you're the Hot Boys or Master P. It was all this one company from, I think, New Orleans called Pin and Pixel that were charging these groups tens of thousands of dollars for these like technically quite rudimentary, garish CD
Horrible.
designs.
Man,
But they're iconic. Like, I mean,
a lot of like the
Pin and Pixel
dancehall
now.
records look like that too, right? A lot of the dancehall records look like that too.
Oh yeah, definitely, most definitely, yeah. But it's like Photoshop slot, but like it's sort of like created an accidental aesthetic that's like iconic. You know immediately like what
Right.
this is referencing when you see like this kind of style of artwork.
If I saw that today, I would pick it up because I'd be like, oh, is this looks exactly like an Eric B and Rakim record or whatever. Like I fucking get it, and I have it on my little
Well, I
list.
recommend you do. I think it's still available. Yeah,
And-
but I mean, like, I think most of the stuff. That's the funny thing is like I think there's like a certain market of people like me who like actually pay for these reissues, but I think a lot of the people who are really into this like don't listen to vinyl in the first place, so they don't really care. So even though these things are all pressed in like limited time pressing of 1,000, they remain available like a year later. So
So there's a record store in Grand Rapids, Michigan called Della Soul Records. It's the first like black owned Michigan record store, and the woman who runs it is fucking great. And I was just in there a couple of weeks ago, like buying some shit. I'm gonna hip her to this because I guarantee that this is stuff that she would carry and like and love. If it's not already in your store, like I might have like flipped right past it.
It might be there. But then again, also I think there is still a lingering regionality to some of this stuff where it's like, for those of us who were teenagers in the 90s, this is a classic record, and maybe everywhere else, maybe not.
Like even like those skits in between songs are what like made those records so perfect. Because that's when you like later on now, like in my 50s, like I can go somewhere and throw out like, oh, he's got dandruff, and someone like will be like, oh fuck yeah, and they'll like know what I'm talking about, right? Or like you can reference those skits, and they'll be like, oh yeah, and you meet instant friends like that. So that I love that. I got it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
That was a wild pick, man. That was like
yeah. I would mix it up a little bit.
It's amazing, and like your passion for it like shone through. I think that was what was so amazing about it.
I mean, like I saw that people have done rap before on what you're listening to, but it punks and like metal and heavy music people tend to like a more 90s East Coast Wu-Tang umbrella, So see, and please don't judge me for what I'm about to say, but for me, rap music hits best when it's not trying to be smart, it's ignorant, it's funny, it just feels more genuine to me. It will scare your parents and make them concerned that you're listening to it. Like these are all the hallmarks of things I love about rap. And like, man, so much of like the 90s East Coast stuff, it's just too smart for me. Like I want like the great thing about all of these records is they are produced by Juicy J and DJ Paul, who I mean, people throw around this term and want to apply it to a lot of things, but I genuinely think a lot of their work is quite psychedelic. They even like called their label Hypnotized Minds because there's a repetitiveness to a lot of their production where it gets real like earwormy, and it's not like other rap music I've ever heard. And I think it's very telling that a lot of these tracks from the 90s from Tennessee have gestated, again, perennialness, for 25, 30 years. And now they're being cited by, you know, the Kanyes and Jay-Z's and Kendrick Lamars of the world, who are like, if not citing these records, straight up sampling them. There's even like a Drake bar where he's paying homage to Project Pat by using his like pentameter. And like it's not like he's stealing, like, you know, that he's referencing this Project Pat song, but it's fucking Drake doing it. I don't give a shit about Drake. He's a fine pop artist. I don't have a problem with him. But like, for people from Tennessee to like see this progression, of like, you know, like, oh fuck it, like by that point it's like almost 2020, and the biggest like pop star in the like rap world is like referencing this shit finally. In 2007, when 3 6 Mafia won the Oscar for its Heart Out Here for a Pimp for the Craig Brewer film Hustle and Flow, you know, that was like what introduced 3 6 Mafia to the mainstream. Yet for those of us who like came up listening to 3 6 is already like 7 years past their prime, and they kind of like, we're not even releasing that much good music by that point already, you know. So it's just been, makes me proud. I'm not much of a whatever the state version of a nationalist is. I don't tout Tennessee like that hard, but one thing I'm like genuinely very deeply proud of coming from Tennessee is 3 6 Mafia, Project Pat, the whole Memphis underground rap scene. Just fucking thank you, Pat. Thank you.
I think a little bit to what you said. Like, I get it. Like, I don't want. I like Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions. I do like insightful, smart hip hop and rap. Like, and currently, like Mos Def, the Dialect, people who have something to say and who are like doing it, but they can do it in like an intelligent, smart, creative way. And that's the same way that I like my punk, and I like all of my song-driven politics to be smart, right? Like, I don't like a song just because they're like, "Fuck the cops." Like, I want a little history and shit like that.
Sure.
At the same time, the other side of that, the songs that I love most, like in hip hop and in punk, like the Trashies, "Get Daddy a Chicken Sandwich," or like the same thing. Like, those are some of like my fucking favorite songs. Like, if you can make it really dumb and something that's gonna stick with me, I'll have it forever. Like, I'll remember the aura of the message and the theme of what the smart people said. But when I pull into like a fast food place and be like, "Get Daddy a chicken sandwich," like, I'm gonna know the song, right? So I get you. I feel
it's the same for punk. I mean, like we can cite all of the reasons why, you know, Crass years later like led to like anarchist movements, anti-globalization movements, protests, etc. But I don't think any Crass song is as quotable as "Sex and Violence" by The Exploited. Now there's a song.
Yeah. There's probably like more like hardcore politically active punk kids, adults, men and women, and non-binary and trans, and all of the genders that can quote Mentor songs before they can quote, like, you know.
There's just like something liberating about like the stupid, you know. And I love it. And also, like, I wouldn't like typify 3 6 as stupid, because I feel like from a production standpoint, this is high art. Like, I think
that like
Juicy and Paul are like some of the greatest producers of the modern era who are still alive. I mean, they're fucking geniuses. But I don't
think there's enough credit given to somebody that can masterfully craft a very dumb song, because it's very hard to do. It's very hard to do. I think Dr. Frank from Mr. T Experience, when he puts his mind to it, can, like, if you look at his lyrics, can masterfully craft some of the fucking dumbest shit you've ever heard in your life, right? Like, really dumb. And he probably agonizes over that. He's a novelist. Like, he writes books. So I know that he like just like stumbles through that. And there's few like that. And I think that rappers are the same way, that like they struggle. I don't think enough credit is given for the hardness it takes to write a truly dumb song.
Right.
Agreed. All right, my last pick.
All right, it's the last pick of the show, Paul.
Oh my gosh. We're all familiar with Death Records and Metal Blade Records.
Yep.
They have brought us communally some of the best thrash metal records of all time, right? Corrosion of Conformity, Voivod, Slayer, Ugly Americans. Like, they've brought us some fucking crazy, iconic records that probably everybody, if anybody's still watching this, has or is now they're thinking of some of those songs now. One of the bands they put out was made famous years later, like made extremely famous. Like, I'm talking like facelift famous. And like some movie where like Nick Cage and Meg Ryan had a son that got stung by bees, and I don't know, they lived on a houseboat. I never saw the movie, but the album that they put out that Death and Metal Blade released isn't in that canon of their music at all. It is probably the best weird. Anybody who follows those labels would have rejected this record immediately because it is the best Husker Du replacements record, Dumpster Baby combined to make the best guitar sounding short song, not power pop, but aggressive rock and roll like Husker Du, of the more hummable songs maybe ever created.
Wow.
Does anybody have a guess?
I can't wait to see
any of the clues.
Well, we've got a guess of the Goo Goo Dolls in the comments, but they.
Damn,
That's
good
it.
guess.
Yep. This album, I don't know how to do it.
Thanks.
Jed.
Yeah, there's like another shiny one.
Yeah.
Jed.
This album, Jed, is the bastard son of Husker Du and the Replacements. Every single song is hummable and great. I think it came out in like 89 or something like that. And it is a great, like, if Soul Asylum, it's like the hybrid great Soul Asylum record too, of all the songs, of all their good songs, like on one album, is this record. It's 3 or 4 guitar sounding thickness and hummable and fucking punk rock as hell. And it's great. And it was on deck. So I had the Inbred records and I was trying to find information about the band Prison Shake, but nobody from that band got back to me. So I ended up with Jed, which I'm fucking happy with. Do you guys know this record? Do you have this record?
I want to know it. I love early. I love that kind of. I love early Soul Asylum. But I've never checked out the Goo Goo Dolls early one. That's the first LP, right?
First or second. This would have been like New Day. This would have been after New Day Rising and before Tim.
All right.
That's when they had their Dumpster Baby and Buffalo, New York, even. Like, what? Sadness Brings Melody, I guess.
I've had someone try to sell me on Goo Goo Dolls before, and like at the time, I was like, hell fucking no. But recently, someone's like, and that's the album that they cited for me was started Jed.
Okay,
so,
there you go.
I think that if you're somebody that likes New Day Rising, but gets a little tired of some of like, if you get a little bit tired of some of the over guitaring, and if you're somebody who likes some of those Replacements records that gets a little bit tired of like sort of the blues rock aspect of it, and you just want to hear like the straight up like
exactly,
and you just want to hear like the straight up like the Bob Mould songs and like the straight up just the better rock songs, rock and roll songs. Like, this is a really good record. It's solid for both those reasons, and I think because it was on Metal Blade and Death first. Maybe congruently they released it, one on CD and one on cassette and one on LP. It got passed over by the metal crowd, got passed over by the punk crowd, and then once Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks or whatever did that movie, none of the punk kids wanted to pick up any of this stuff anymore because, and then they got like I said, facelift famous. Like, but this record is fucking great. Like, look at that guy. That is a Jed. He's got a bottle of booze on his seat. he's driving somewhere, maybe to pick up his dog or leave a dog. He probably told his daughter that he's going to leave his dog on the farm or leave the dog in a field. But
So to his
I also
manager.
feel like it's a very like 90s design aesthetic to have like these like black bars at the top and bottom for like your band name, album name. It's like the John Gates effect.
Well, it's probably, and there's no proof behind this, so I'm going to make up the story, but this is the kind of thing where like a friend of yours does a painting you like, and so you don't want to ruin it. So you hey Jordan, can we use your painting for a record cover? And so you just like block it out like that.
Yes. That was funny. Like Jordan's son, he's not here right now, but he won't mind. His son, who's 10, does these amazing paintings. He sent one in our chat, and we made like a fake like LP cover out of his 10-year-old son's amazing painting. Nice. Yeah, it's he's an amazing artist. But yeah, it's totally like that. You know
what I mean? Like you don't want to
don't want to type over it. You want to keep the original intact. I got to check out the Goo Goo Dolls. I love. It's fun. I still haven't got into the replacements. I don't, even though I do kind of like the blues and blues rock. I don't like a band like that doing it. I like it to be more like dusty.
Okay, so if you're gonna check out a track on YouTube or anything, just go straight for Up Yours.
Okay.
Just go straight to that song, because every song on this record is plus or minus that song.
Okay.
In a good way, right? Like, but that is like the deciding track that just like, fuck, this is a good song. It's driving, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, repeat, done. Like, not overdoing it. Telling people to fuck off.
I'll have to check out the whole album. I feel like there's been so much 90s rock in the last few years that I've like turned myself onto that I completely disregarded at the actual time when I was
There's tons of it. Yeah, me too.
And over again, like I find myself hearing bands that I could not give the time of day to back then, but really enjoy now.
I lived I like all of you guys, like I lived with people like, oh, Brian has the Guided by Voices and Pavement collection, so I can listen to that. And I'm going to get like this, I'm going to get like the Born Against and Rorschach stuff, and he can listen to these. And so like, and now I'll find myself being like, what is this lyric? Where is it? And I'll type it in like, oh, that's the Pavement song that I used to hear coming out of Brian's room like 30 years ago or whatever.
That's great. Are you a Black Crowes fan at all?
Black Crow.
Couple of tracks.
Couple of tracks.
I'm saying like in the
25
for me that's the quintessential like, God, this shit sucks in the 90s, and then now I've like some people play some tracks for me and I'm like, oh
yeah, like people say that, like, the deep cuts on some of the records are like really, really good, you know, if you like ZZ Top, you know?
Like Third Eye Blind and Counting Crows, I think they fucking write good lyrics. Like
Counting Crows have
some of the songs like
Third Eye Blind, I've never got into that. That's something I might have to brave.
Well, a couple of their songs like are fucking good lyrically, but like, this is a fucking 5-minute song. Like, fuck that. But like reading through it, I'm like, yeah, this guy has a great way of like saying things.
Man.
Hey, so since we're minus the fourth, how long have we been running?
I think we're just about perfect time wise.
Oh, yeah, 2 hours, 8 minutes.
2 hours, 10 minutes.
All right. No random pulls.
I know you love the random pulls. I feel we should do the random pulls, right? By way of apology to to someone. I don't know. Let's can you do a random pull? Are you?
Yeah, I can do a random pull.
Mine is not going to be random. I could. Okay, let's do it. Okay, we'll do it like a eat together. Mine's going to suck. I kind of know where I'm sat. So, all right. Random pull, bonus take. We'll just show them.
Wait. Like you get mine out of the shrink. All right, ready. I'm gonna have a weird.
CD's not allowed, James. You know that.
I got nothing. This is the only weird. Like, unless you want me to get up and go to my record collection, this is like what was within.
No, shit, you're in a wheelie chair. It'll take you 40 minutes to get there. You got a bum leg and a wheelie chair.
Okay, okay, ready. Yeah. Oh my God, kind of ties in. Not really. Speed Kills, Volume 4 of the ultimate in thrash. That's what I've come up with. Exodus, Nuclear Assault, Acid Rain, Death, Bathory, Dark Angel, and many more.
That's awesome.
It is awesome.
James, random pull.
Mine is this very non-deluxe edition gauze CDR bootleg of 2 shows, 97 and 98, that I met a guy, Kazu, at a bar in Kyoto, who handed this off to me, soundboard recording, because he was the sound guy at the gigs, I guess. And I don't know. I was just listening to it the other day. I don't love gauze. I like some gauze, but I'm not like a
Listen carefully. You might hear me heckling. You might hear me heckling on the 98 show.
There we go. Yeah. This is my random pull. This is what was within. But yeah, thank you, Kazu, for giving me this cool CDR.
My random pull, I know where I'm sitting. I'm sitting by the comp section, and I arrange my comps by decade.
Metal comps.
So, this is going to be, please don't be something fucking embarrassing. Oh, it's a Vox comp. Oh, probably with the Celibate rifles or something. So it's got a lot of garage Australian stuff on it. The Libertines, the Celibate rifles, the Skeptics. A lot of weird garage. Oh, green. I think they were from Chicago. Oh, the Cynics, the Dwarves, probably before they got all like, before Dwarves became like fucking creepy.
60s Dwarves.
And the Cunts, because I guess the Dwarves maybe picked it up from them. But yeah, there it is. That's my random pick. Great garage rock record.
Nice. I like the random pick episodes. Round.
Does anybody else arrange their comps by decade?
No, by genre.
How do you decide? Like, I know you have punk. Okay, wait. Do you want to talk more after this? You guys?
Yes, yeah. Let's not go like, wailing secrets to everyone. All right, it turned out fun. It turned out good. It was an interesting start. That's the first for the show. It took 105 shows for it to happen, but it finally happened. It's done. It's there to be seen by everyone. Probably won't happen again. Hope not. Let me announce next week's show. It's going to be a good show next week. Ryoji, No Norms Records is back. Mikey Kent, Private Hell. Matt Barr, Hell is Here. Next Friday, Valentine's Day. So don't go out for a date. Stay at home and tune in to What Are You Listening To? 10 p.m. next Friday. Until next time. Who was the best 3-person? There's only been a few, but out of the three-person episodes that there's been, this was definitely one of the good ones. All right. Until next time, stay healthy.
Stay clean.
Stay